workers of the world unite.
Got to give our students the very best.
Got to give our students the very best.
They deserve art and music and the rest.
So Cheryl, do you think that one of the reasons that the schools in Baltimore and Chicago are in such bad shape is because so few white students go to these schools?
That could be part of the reason. In Patterson High School, there is a wide variety of backgrounds. There are white kids, a majority of black kids. There are a lot of Nepalese, Latino, and they, thank goodness, they get along. But I think it's more economic background. It's more than race. But race is also in the mix.
Do you think that class size is important for teachers and students?
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely. Class size is important because if they want us to go to professional development and learn about accommodations, diversification, how can we properly accommodate 30, 40, 50 students in a classroom? How can we diversify without common planning periods, without any support? They think, unfortunately, they think that teachers go home and we just drop our bags and we just watch TV. No, we continue working until late at night just to get the lesson plans done, to make sure we diversify for all the kids, just like we're supposed to do as teachers. But it takes time.
So as an ESOL teacher, you have classes of students from all around the world who speak different languages. How many students do you usually have in one class?
Well, this year there is a pilot program that is called Newcomer Program, and because they're new and they speak different languages, they're in classrooms that the max number of students is 11 or 12.
That's great.
So it is a small class, but it does not reflect the reality of other classrooms. There are other classrooms that they have 30, 40 kids, and they really have the potential to succeed, but they don't because the support is not there.
Do you see a difference when you only have 11 students in a class?
Absolutely.
Can you tell us about that difference?
The kids, they want to participate more. They want to belong to the group. It's easy for them to be part of the group and to seek support not only from the teacher but also from their classmates. It's more the community building, the bonding. It's better in the small settings.
Why did you come all the way across town?
Well, I don't have an air conditioning in my classroom. They gave us thermometers, and I took a picture of a thermometer at 100 degrees one day. And my kids get sick, they get headaches, and it's insufferable. Okay, I don't think that it's the best setting for teaching. It's not leading to the kids developing their full potential. So yes, we do need to have better schools if you want the kids to perform better. Are you aware of the situations with the international cohort teachers?
Yeah. So I think it's absolutely awful, criminal, that our system sent people across to the other side of the world to find good teachers who are already trained, bring them over here, tell them we're going to sponsor them to be American citizens. I can't think of better people I would like to have as fellow country people than these men and women who came over here to teach our children and to teach them with love and dignity and honesty that I don't see from a lot of the other teachers. I shouldn't say that. I see it from a lot of other teachers, but they go above and beyond. And all of a sudden, we're going to try to send them back to the Philippines or to Jamaica or West Africa, where people came from, because we're really not committed to the lives of our young people. And I think this is similar to what's happening in Chicago, that They're trying to undermine seniority. They're trying to undermine tenure. They don't care that experienced teachers are better teachers. And that's not true across the board, but it is true the majority of the time. If you have a teacher who's not doing a great job, then any country on earth that we hold up as having a better education system would give them lots of intensive training. But instead, in this current political climate where they want to blame teachers and they want to blame unions, they're saying, well, if you're not doing your job perfectly, automatically, we're just going to get rid of you. And it's really disrespectful to students.
Do you think that is why you don't see that many international cohorts teachers?
Frankly, a lot of teachers are living in fear. A lot of teachers fear for their jobs, regardless of the fact that we have tenure, regardless of the fact that we have a strong union and we shouldn't have to fear for our jobs. A lot of people really do, and I think for good reason. I think that the system has proven itself to be very vindictive, and a lot of people are not willing to come out and stand for what they honestly believe in.
Okay, so the teachers in Chicago, they need the money, they need the funds. So what is your take on what is happening with those funds?
Well, there's a lie happening right now in our country that there isn't enough money to take care of working people. There is so much money in our country, more than there ever has been before, and it is getting sucked up into a sponge of the very wealthy. The top 1% of Americans controls some exorbitant amount of the wealth. And guess what? Rahm Emanuel is in that 1%, and he's of that 1%, and he's 100% looking out for the best interests of that 1%. And in fact, he's not the only Democratic politician who is fighting against the interests of labor unions and workers. We're really at a very dangerous time right now. But I want to add that the Chicago teachers aren't just striking for money. They're really trying to, because I heard a Chicago parent say in an interview last week that teachers' working conditions are our students' learning conditions. And that, I think, has been the main message of the CTU during this fight, is that good schools are good for teachers and good schools are good for students. And it is one fight, and we need to be united in that one fight. Smaller classes, honor the whole child. Let's get really good food into the cafeterias. Let's have art and music education. Let's have good team sports. Let's really nourish and nurture the whole child, and then they'll want to come to school and they'll want to learn, and we'll have the kind of country that we want to have in 15 years.
Okay, one last question. So do you think the strike in Chicago is enough, or what else? What else should teachers do?
Great. I'm really hoping that things will jump off from here, that labor and teachers and parents and students will feel energized, will feel positive and powerful and stand up, because this country was built on working people, and working people have the real power of this country. Labor is getting an awful shake right now, and it's only going to get worse unless labor stands up.
Why do you think that we should have smaller classes?
Smaller classes will help because in a big class, not everyone is learning how they need to learn, and with a smaller class, everyone's personal needs can be focused so that everyone's getting the proper education that they need.
And why is it important for us to encourage other classes such as band and art and other activities such as those?
It's important because it gives students culture, and they need to just be able to reach every bit of lesson that they can. They need to know these things so they can make the world a better place. Every little bit counts, and every little bit that you know helps.
And it's important for the teachers to be in schools because we need to be educated, right?
Yes, teachers are saviors of the world, and they help students get farther in the world so that this world can become a better place. Because I know that this world can become a better place.
Yes, and that's why we all joined the strike, because teachers are the reasons that we are educated. Governors, mayors, presidents even, they were educated by teachers. So teachers are very important in our culture. That's why we are here to support them, because it's very important for us to realize the amount of work and dedication that they put into the students.
As far as the smaller classes go, like how would that benefit students and the teachers?
It would benefit because each teacher would be able to concentrate on every student equally, and they would be able to help and really support every child as they deserve to be supported.
And if such a thing, if a strike were to happen in Baltimore, how would you react? Like, what would be your main reaction?
I really wouldn't be surprised, because in Baltimore, many teachers really do need the support. We know that schools nowadays need more textbooks, need more materials in general, so that they can students can be able to learn more and be able to become more academic and more successful in their lives. In conclusion, what we want to say is that the Chicago teachers have a reason, and we support them and we encourage them, because they have the courage to actually strike and actually go against what other people would think as a nonsense, And many times, teachers don't want to strike, teachers don't want to fight, but we're here to support them. As students, we're also here to support them, and we want to wish them the best and everything.
Why do you think we have to support the strike in Chicago, teachers' strike in Chicago?
Well, I think the working class is always stronger when we support one another. That's one reason. Another reason is that the struggle in Chicago is very important, not only for them but for us too, because the recent trend in the United States in education is called race to the top, and essentially it's billionaires who are coming up with a policy that suits their purposes, and I think they'd like to cheapen education and put those resources into wars. For example, Afghanistan, in my opinion, is really a war for the tappy gas pipeline. They want to get rich selling gas. And they'd rather put their war into that effort, not into the education of working class students. So the Chicago teachers are fighting that whole trend.
Yeah, for me as a teacher, when I heard the strike in Chicago, I was like wondering, what makes all these teachers angry? I heard something on the news that the evaluation and the way they're gonna evaluate them might put a lot of teachers out of work. Is this what it is about?
It's one of the issues. Part of the race to the top strategy in education involves rating teachers and evaluating teachers based on the test scores of their students. On the surface, it seems like it's reasonable that it would pressure teachers to be the best that they can be, but it's what we call a merit pay system. And it's based on the assumption that teachers currently are not working to the fullest extent. They don't care enough about their students. The reality is, when they've done studies, that they found that merit pay does not improve education. The teachers are already, in most cases, doing their very best to educate their students to the fullest. So, yeah, that's one of the issues, and I think they're right to oppose the merit pay program.
Thank you very much. And what do you think is the solution to make these teachers happy?
Well, another demand that they have in Chicago is for racial equality. Chicago is a school system very much like Baltimore, where the majority of the students are African American and Latino. In the poorest neighborhoods, they often do not have a librarian and a library in the school. They often are understaffed as far as counselors go, social workers, and other clinicians. And one of the demands of the strike is to hire more of these professional positions outside of teacher, and make sure that the schools, even in the poorest schools, that the students are really served well and they get the best education possible. So I think that's a very important aspect of the strike.
I heard in the news that they are coming back to sign another contract. Do you have hope for that?
Yeah, the strike is going to have to be settled at some point.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll be successful in winning most of what they're fighting for.
Cheyenne, do you think that teachers should be paid more or less because of what's going on right now in Chicago?
No, I believe that teachers should be paid the right amount, like more, because we have now a mixture of kids that don't care and kids that do care. You know, we have a lot of ghetto and inconsiderate kids now, so it'd be really, I know, sorry about that, I messed up on the word, but it'll be really rude for teachers to have to suffer because of the ignorance of other children.
Well, do you think that when there's a teacher teaching a big classroom of kids, do you think it's the teacher's fault if the child or children is not learning properly, or is it because of the children just misbehaving? Is it the children's fault or the student's fault?
I don't think that it's the children's fault. I mean the teacher's fault, because they're basically ruining. The kids are basically ruining their own education to learn, and you can't really blame it on the teachers for actually taking their time to teach students. So I just don't think it's fair what they're doing to teachers.
Well, do you think it's right to limit the amount of kids in a classroom, or do you think it should be expanded where more kids are in a classroom?
It should be limited, because the less kids is the more you can learn, because if it's less children, you can work with that specific child more than instead of having to throw yourself at every child and try to help, and it's overwhelming.
Well, do you think it's easier for a child to learn when a teacher gets personable with the child and can actually talk to them and not the class itself?
It's easier to get personal with a child. I mean, even from personal experience, it's better for the teacher to come to me or me to come to the teacher to ask for help.
Do you think that all schools should support Chicago, or should only a select few of schools support Chicago?
I think all schools should be supporting Chicago, all schools, because, I mean, it can happen to us.
True. Well, do you think that it's necessary for students and teachers to be supporting them, or do you think that's just something that they should just volunteer for?
I think everybody should just be supportive.
Why?
Because, you know, it's something big. You know, if you really think of it, it can happen to us. You know, they could be coming to our school trying to cut down with teachers. You know, it's just a thought that counts, because it could be you. I mean, you can think of it both ways. What if you was put in a class with a lot of students, and you know you're being overwhelmed with their silliness and interruptions? You know, it's something.
Have there ever been a time where you were in a class of a bunch of people who did not want to learn and did not want to listen to the teacher?
Yes, I'm always put in a class like that, but one thing I have to know is if you ask for help, because that's been something that a lot of students need to work on also. You ask for help, and I'm sure the teacher would love to help you. I mean, that's what they're there for.
Well, how can a student avoid being, if a student is put in a place where they're in a classroom with a bunch of people who don't want to learn, how can that student help better themselves and make sure that they can learn?
I mean, do your work and you focus on you. You ask for help. You know, don't let the silliness and what's going on around, you know, mess you up, because later on it's going to be you that has the grade, not them. Rodney, do you think that it's fair what's going on to teachers in Chicago?
I do not think it's fair at all. Teachers do a lot to help students, and it's like teachers aren't here to help themselves. Yes, they're getting paid, but ultimately they are helping students. They're helping students learn to they're educating the students. They're helping students chase careers. For example, I want to be a lawyer. All of my teachers, they help me. They make me want to strive for more, to strive for excellence. You know, and I just feel like teachers, they should be paid more. Like they aren't. Teachers. Oh my God, it's just so much to say. Teachers, they deserve a lot more, and I think they don't get what they are credited for. They deserve so much, however, they get so less.
Do you think it's fair that there's children interrupting classes while they're trying to speak?
No, I don't think it's fair, but I think that for a good teacher has ways where they can stop that. Just to go from personal experience, my Spanish 2 teacher, I'm not going to say any names, but there's someone in our class who constantly interrupts her, constantly does annoying things. However, she stops it. So if a teacher is a good teacher, there are ways for them to stop the student from interrupting the class, and there are ways for them to help everyone in the class.
But don't you still think that if it was over 25 students in a class, it would be hard for a teacher to teach?
I do think that, but like I said, the teacher should find ways to stop that, because you can't control it. What I really believe is that the mayor, the mayor of Chicago, that he should try to take all the classes and limit it. Instead of having 25, 35, 45 students in a class, try to have about around 20 students in a class, so that way the teacher can get personal with the student. The teacher can talk to the student and not the class itself. Do you think that the mayor of Chicago is being biased towards students, or the school district and the teachers?
Well, he's being biased against the teachers. I mean, he may very well have the students at heart, but I think he's definitely taking the wrong path toward improving learning in the schools.
Well, how do you think the mayor can fix that? Fix the school districts and make it so that teachers can help students learn more, and like for their teacher to be able to get personable with the student and ask them things instead of asking the class itself and having disruptive students?
Well, I think that the number one thing the mayor needs to do is listen to the teachers, because the teachers are there with the students day after day, and they know what it takes to make learning better. And if there is an agreement on things, like there was, for example, with the pay raise, he needs to hold up his end of the bargain.
Well, do you think that there are ways for teachers to kind of go around disrespectful students and students who don't really care about the education? Like, do you think it's the teacher's fault for not being able to help those students?
All a teacher can do is try. We only have them for 7 or 8 hours a day, and the rest of the time they're with their family, they're with their friends, they're out on the street. So it can be very difficult to deal with disrespectful students, and that's when teachers need to have administrative support. So let's not forget there are administrators in every building that are there to help teachers do their jobs. And so if the administrators are doing their jobs and the central office is letting the teachers and administrators do their jobs, that's the only way there's any hope for those disrespectful and disruptive students to be taught.
Right now, the mayor is trying to take the classrooms and kind of expand it so that there are more students and less teachers. Do you think that is right, and if so, why not?
Well, it's definitely wrong, because there are studies that have been done that say that smaller classes are better learning environments, especially for hard-to-teach students.
Well, when a classroom is expanded, how can a teacher when a classroom is expanded, how can a teacher, how can they teach all the students? How can they actually help all the students instead of just teaching a few and then having the rest just go off in their own direction?
Well, we have to admit it is possible to teach large numbers of students all at once. I mean, our professors did it when we went to college. They apparently have very large classes in Japan, for example. But the point is that if the students need individual attention, they aren't going to get them in those kind of classes. So it has to be only with students who can really learn through the lecture method, which is not every student. In fact, there may be very many students who need the individual attention that you can only get in a smaller classroom.
Well, do you think the mayor should take students who are, I wouldn't want to say smarter, but have more of an education, have better test grades, and put them in one class, then take those of lower test grades and put them in one class?
You mean tracking?
Yeah, tracking.
Okay, that can work. I mean, it's one of the many tools that educators have to improve the education of their students. So yes, I think that's something that should be an option.
But if they do that, wouldn't that be biased towards all students? What if there are students who have low test grades and they happen to do really good in all their classes? Should they be transferred to a better class, which allows for smarter students to be in that?
Yeah, there should always be flexibility in whatever we do in education. If this doesn't work, we try something else. That's just the way it is with teachers. We are 100% flexible when it comes to what is necessary to get our students ahead.
All right. Okay, so you're a teacher, right?
I am.
All right. And now, have there ever been a time where you had a bunch of students in your class and there were a select few who didn't really care so much about what you were teaching and just talked throughout the class and was very disrespectful? If there were students like that in your class, what did you do to stop them from fooling off?
Well, you have to punish them. I mean, you have to hold them for detention. You have to try to work with their parents. Parents are, at least the poly parents, are very helpful. They're very thankful that you call and tell them about their students' disrespectful behavior, and they work with you to make it better. And I'm sure that there are many situations in Chicago where the same situation holds. Parents want their children, by and large, they want their children to have a better education, and they're willing to work with teachers.